Hello to those listening. Welcome to the Freeze of Speech. This is an author here, and as the title says, I'm about to talk about drafting women because, in my perspective, it's a really good way to prevent war. Now, we're going to start here on the Selective Services System, its official government website. The links to all the sites I'm going to talk about are going to be in the links below. Please check them out and read for yourself. Now, time to get started. Now, what we're going to start with here is the act itself. The act that has been put through Congress and revised just as recently as 2012, as it says at the top. Now, I'm going to go into selection B. This is what the selective services or the draft is designed for. Part B. The Congress declares that an adequate arm strength must be achieved and maintained to ensure the security of the nation. That's what it's for. So we draft people when the military needs it to fight the wars we need to fight. Most people can understand this, and that's fine. So now, what I want to do is go into part C because here's your first little niche, and it says the Congress further declares that in a free society, the obligation and privilege of serving in the armed forces and the reserve components therefore should be shared generally in accordance with the system of selection, which is fair and just, and which is consistent with the maintenance of an effective national economy. Translation: Congress says we need to send off more your middle class and poor people because they're not as important as the people at the top rungs who do two things, which is inherently keep the economy going through their businesses, and let's be serious, they pay for them. I mean, they sponsor them. Now, I'm about to go down some more because I want to get into some of these amendments. And the amendments that were attached to this, you see it says in 1 101, male citizens of the United States and other males residing in the United States, unless exempt by Military Selective Service Act, the draft, as amended, who were born on or after July 1st, 2060, and who have attire, attained their 18th birthday, shall present themselves for registration in a manner at the time and place as hereinafter provided. Now, translated, fairly simple. If you're a man, you can be drafted. This is pretty much to take place, all the above parts take place after 2060. Well, not 2060, I'm sorry, 1960. But this one phrase here kind of has a really murky area when it comes to our judicial system. Because you see, if you are a male and you reside in the United States and you choose not to be registered for the selective military service, or aka the draft, you are actually in violation of federal law. And if the federal government so chose, they can actually incarcerate you and successfully prosecute you. Now, during the time of peace, this act is still in effect, so they can still do it then. They can do it during the time of war, but it's not something that they're really going to push until it's needed for that reason. Probably because they realize that if they tried to push it without a war happening, it would blow up in their face something spectacularly. I mean, it would be a monumental destructive fuck up. There's no other way to say it. So, if you read the original part of the act at the top, when they wrote it out, they pretty much talked in general terms. Later on, they threw the amendments on there, and they got very specific and said just male citizens. Now, if you're a person who believes in equality, you're against this. You don't like this. I'm a person who believes in equality. I believe that it makes no difference what your gender is, what you look like, or where you're from. If you are a U.S. citizen and it's time for a draft, you need to go or face the consequences, which is normally incarceration. I myself personally, if there's a war and I am for it, and they say I need to be drafted, I'm on my way. You will have no complaints from me. And if they don't take me, I will feel bad on the inside. And if they take me, I'm going to do my job. On the other hand, if I don't agree with the war, you can take me. We don't need to talk. Take me directly to the jail cell, and I'll sit there until we're done. Because I believe in equality and I have my own pride. But back to the equality thing. Now, I am going to go over to this different section. This Moto article was written on February 29th, 2016 by this Kate Look, I'm bad with names, okay? There's her name right there. If you can pronounce it, yay for you. But the article pretty much talks about drafting women is the key to ending gender discrimination. Now, the first part talks about the debate of over it and blah, 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 blah. You know, the usual. But here's some of the interesting points of the article that caught my eye. And it comes down to this phrase right here: benevolent sexist tendencies. Yes, that is right, people. It is sexist to actually sit there and tell a person, you cannot do this because you're a woman. And you know what is benevolent? Because it is designed to protect. Yes, sexism can be either good or bad. It is all on how it's displayed and what the purpose is. Whether you're using it to oppress or you're using it to, well, protect. Sexism is sexism, neither good nor bad. So if you hear somebody saying, hey, this person's being a sexist, they say, whoa, wait a minute, let them know. Sexism is neither good nor bad. It's really neutral. It's about what it's supposed to be for. But now I'm going to go into this green box and read it out. And it says, changing the current system is a natural step toward the elimination of gender discrimination in the military. And I've stopped to read this part because it is a very powerful statement. The system is designed in the military to try to protect women, to try to put them in a position where they are not going to be involved in heavy fighting. It's discrimination. If you're a soldier, you're trained to fight, and you should be in the role that you want to be in. Which means this is technically illegal. You cannot discriminate. But now we have to go and switch it up just a little bit more. And we need to come over to this specific area. Oh, sorry about that. And it says, here's a poll from 833KC, whatever. Again, all links are in the description below. Please read them. This was done by a John Ismir. Hope I got his name right. Probably didn't. On October 13th, 2015. Title: Should Women Be Drafted? Congress may have to decide soon. Now, I'm going to read some part. I'm going to read this first big part right here. The idea of drafting women into the armed forces and forcing them to fight in combat has no precedent in the U.S. military history. That original statement is a lie. Because if you are part of the military, if you are in a war zone, your gender is irrelevant. You are in a combat zone. You will have to fight. Even though the military, as it said in the other statement, does discriminate and try to keep women from the fighting as much as possible, it cannot do that completely, which means there are women in combat as we speak right now because we are at war and they're in a combat zone. This statement is false. continue on. And it says here, but as women's roles change within the military, so might the draft. This is an important statement. Even though the top statement was garbage, this part is really important because as the military desegregates itself and allows women the equal rights that they wanted and earned by them being given to them, you can't discriminate the roles. And if you can put women in any role, then that means they should be drafted. We go back to the military service law that I was reading out earlier. You want to have to scratch out the male part and probably put citizen there. Now it goes back to speaks about talks about how the last draft was in like 1973, blah 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 blah. Deep freeze, irrelevant to the point I'm trying to make now. Talking about the roles of women in the military, and that's fine. But I want to come down to here, and here's what it is. It says that the Secretary of the Navy raised many eyebrows when he said he would open the SEAL program to women. You know, everybody know what the Navy SEALs are, SEAL Team 6, woo. But when he opened it, he raised eyebrows, saying, as people like, whoa, wait a minute, you want to do this? The SEAL teams are just incredibly combative units. And it's like, whoa, well, we don't, people kind of like, whoa, we don't want to put women there. We're trying to keep women out of danger. But you know what? It's about equality. So yeah, we need to put them in there. That shouldn't have raised eyebrows, but it did. And why did it do it? Benevolent sexism. Now, a personal opinion on this note. When you talk about putting women in combat roles, you need to put women in women only roles. And I misspoke. I mean women only units. Now, you may stop and say to yourself, whoa, man, you was just talking about equality a second ago, and you shouldn't discriminate. This isn't about discrimination, and this is totally about equality. Here's some facts here. Men are naturally stronger than women. Men are naturally more durable than women. This is how we are just inherently made. It's written in the DNA. We have no control over it. So, this is where I'm coming from. You cannot put a, let's say, 5'4" woman on a team of 6'4" SEALs and expect that to work. It's not. One of the main features, especially when it comes to the military, or matter of fact, any job that is incredibly dangerous, that has standards, those standards are naturally set by men who are naturally stronger than women, which means if you want women in these programs, you want women to be SEALs, you're going to have to bring down the standards, or only a select few of women who can actually pull off these feats of strength, of durability, of stamina will make it. And it's not that many women who can actually do it. But if you make it women only units, then you can. You can have women only SEAL team units where everybody is trained to be at a specific level. That is the purpose of training. The training is to bring your entire group of different people with different abilities into a regulated form. Even though there will be some stronger, some faster, the natural abilities that these individual people have will take point. But it's designed to try to keep them at the same level. Women and men are biologically different. You cannot put them in the same areas of military combative readiness and expect it to work. It will not. But you can have SEAL Team 1 male, SEAL Team 1 female, and that will work perfectly fine. But back to what we were actually talking about and getting away from my opinion here. We've already seen that. Oh, here, a picture of her. Nice general lady. Nice badged upness. Beautiful. So just this is a photo of and whatever her name is. I'm not really good at names, but she's a woman who's in the military who, as you can tell by her ornamentation, has earned her rank. She gets 2 claps. But she's also saying that, you know what, we kind of have to get rid of these sexist roles that are the benevolent sexist roles, to be more specific, that keeps women like her from going into combat roles, because in military advancement, the best way to get ahead is to engage in these combat roles. So, you may say to yourself, if you got women in the military say we need to get rid of it, you got people saying it's okay for women to go into combat roles because women are doing it. What would be the problem with changing the draft? Well, we need to come over here now to another one. We going to the Hill, and in this article in the Hill, it says polls, when they polled it, most women oppose registering for the draft. Now, this is written by Rebecca, I think Hill. Hope I said that right. If not, I don't really care. Links again, links in the description below. Please look them up for yourself. Now let's see what these polls found out. Now, the poll that they took found that 52% of women oppose requiring women to register, in other words, drafting, while 38% in favor of it and 10% are undecided. Translation. In other words, it's 62% of women who are against it, okay? This is not an it. This is literally a left or right issue. This is no think about it issue. It's either is it okay or is it not. The undecided people are pretty much saying no, because if they were okay with it, they would have said yes. So we have a nice majority size of women who say no drafting, please. But if you go down and you look at this other part where it says 61% of males respond favorably, requiring that women register. So it seems that women don't want to be drafted. They don't want to have to register. Men, on the other hand, are like, cool. You know, we've been told all this time that women want equality. Women want to be equal. You're a woman, you're as good as a man. Well, guess what? We say okay. They say no. And in America, you know who the majority voters are? Women. So you're kind of going to see that it's going to be very difficult to get a politician who's for drafting women to be voted on, because in my lifetime I've learned that people do not willingly give up power. But I want to hit one more figure, and this is my figure that makes me say that, you know what, this is why if we start drafting women, we may prevent some war, because we have that benevolent sexism already in place. And now I want to go to this right here. The Congressional Research Services formatted the legal, I mean, legitimate, whatever, another government website, congressional data sources. And this version is in from July 2nd, 2015. Now, I am going to skim through this till I get to the part. I'm going to stop here for a second, because this is pretty much talking about a lot of military casualties and things of that nature. This goes from, don't see, as you see up there, 1775, 1991. That's from there. And you keep going out some further, we got 1980 to 1996. Again, more military deaths in certain operations. That's good data, but not what I'm looking for. July 25th, 2009, active duty military deaths. That's good data, but that's not the one I really want to talk about. November 2011, yeah, that's good data too, but that's not what I really want to look for. Another 2011. Again, good data, not what I'm looking for. Korean War, pretty recent. This data is pretty much calculated and resolved from December 22nd, 2014. You know what? Good data, but that's not the one I really want to. Vietnam conflict, and more summaries of it. That's again very decent data. The Persian Gulf War, I'm looking at some more decent data, but that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for, Operation Enduring Freedom, casualty summary. Yeah, that's recent, but let's see if we can get something a little bit more specific. And not only that, but I want a little bit more data than that. Okay, table 10, Operation Enduring Freedom. Yeah, this is a part of the Afghanistan-Iraq war. So yeah, let's use this data because it has a lot more points to it, and it has what I'm really looking for to make this ultimate point about the benevolent sexism and why I think drafting women can help end wars. And when you're looking here, and again, Operation Enduring Freedom, military deaths, and it talks about hostiles, non-hostiles, but right here. female, male, total. The total is 2,352 people at the time frame in which this data was collected. Now you may be saying, out of the hundreds of thousands of troops we send down there, that's for casualty level, that's pretty good coming from the number of troops we sent there. But here's the thing: when you break these down by gender, you're looking at 51 when this data was collected, compared to 2,301. These numbers are so different. It's incredible that the American people are okay with losing that many of their sons, brothers, husbands, fathers, and not going into an outrage over it. But they only lost 51 women. And that's what it is. The benevolent sexism is trying that is designed to keep women out of harm's way keeps these numbers so low. And I do believe that if these numbers were equal, being around 1,200 so, I mean, yeah, well, about 1,200 or so, this war would have ended much sooner, because this data has only been collected up since 2014, which means but it's 2015 now, and I'm pretty sure there's been more deaths there. Last time I checked, the total was around 6,000 over the whole span of the war. And if 3,000 women died, I'm pretty sure it'll be running on the news all day, every day. First thousandth woman died. The second thousandth woman died. The third thousand women died in this war. And I think the American people will look and say, you know what? That's enough of this. You can't have all these women dying. This is the beauty of benevolent sexism. And it comes down to the fact that this is why women don't want to be drafted. This is why Congress can't change the law, even though technically it's illegal. Because as long as women are the majority voters, and as long as people do not willingly give up power, it won't change. But if it does change, I do believe that it will prevent a lot more war, because those female casualty numbers are going to jump up, and the media will pay attention to it. And Americans will look at their politicians and say, you better give us a damn good reason why all these women are dying. We may not care too much about those men dying, but we sure do care about those women. And you better give us a real good excuse. So I'm in a position of thinking that, it will help prevent war for that specific reason. Now, as an interesting side note, when I was looking through this data, I actually found, if you go down some more, you actually see that there's a breakdown by race. And if you look at it, the total of like the 2,352 and all that good stuff, and you actually break down about race, you see that they have unknowns. I guess these people are from Mars. It's about 30 multiple races. I guess that means mixed people. That's another 30 Native Hawaiians or Pacific Islanders. That's about 8 African American or Black people. That is 193 Asian people. 62 American Indian or Alaskan Natives, 30. And it says white is 1,999. So, to those listening, the next time you hear the phrase white cis male scum or social, whatever social negative they want to apply to white people, please remember these numbers and please recite them to these people, because it's not their social group that's out there defending their rights to call these people this. It is these men, these white men, who are actually putting their lives on the line, and some of them aren't coming home to defend their rights, to call them these insulting names. And with that, I bid you all adieu. If you like what you heard, please check the links and read for yourself and learn a little bit more about the laws. This is an auditor here. Thanks for listening.